Commander Li Jinwu stood motionless in the dimly lit command center, his eyes fixed on the massive holographic display that dominated the room. The first alien ships had appeared just beyond Mars 48 hours ago. Now they hung in Earth's atmosphere like dark storm clouds, their metallic surfaces reflecting the morning sun. Atlas, his faithful German shepherd, pressed against his leg. The dog's presence was comforting, even as the weight of command pressed down on Jinwu's shoulders. Around him, dozens of military personnel worked at their stations, their voices hushed and tense. "Sir, the Rakari flagship is requesting another communication channel," Lieutenant Park reported from her station. Her fingers moved swiftly across the holographic keyboard. Jinwu straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The main display shifted, and the alien face of High Commander Dak filled the screen. The Rakari's gray-scaled skin and 4 glowing eyes had become a familiar sight over the past 2 days, though not a welcome one. "Commander Lee," Dak's translator processed his clicks and whistles into smooth English. "Have your leaders reached a decision?" "They're still discussing your proposal." Jinwu kept his voice steady, professional. Atlas growled softly beside him, and he placed a calming hand on the dog's head. Dak's upper eyes narrowed. Yes, your pet. How fitting that you keep one of your primitive companions even in your military command center." The alien's mouthparts twisted in what Jinwu had learned to recognize as a gesture of disgust. "This only confirms our assessment of your species." "Atlas is a trained military working dog," Jinwu replied. "He has saved human lives and—" Yes, Dak interrupted. "You attribute intelligence and emotion to these creatures. You waste resources feeding and caring for them. You even give them names and treat them as equals." The alien commander made a clicking sound that the translator rendered as laughter. "Do you know what we found most amusing in our study of Earth? Your entertainment media about loyal animals. Dogs solving mysteries. Cats outsmarting humans. Dolphins rescuing swimmers." Jinwu felt his jaw tighten, but maintained his diplomatic composure. "Our relationship with Earth's animals is part of our cultural heritage." "It is a weakness," Dak declared. "A species that relies on emotional bonds with lesser beings cannot be trusted with advanced technology or membership in the galactic community. This is why you must submit to Rakari guidance. We will help your species evolve beyond these primitive attachments." The command center had fallen silent. Jinwu could feel all eyes on him as he faced down the alien commander. Atlas remained alert at his side, ears forward, watching the screen intently. "And if we refuse this guidance?" Jinwu asked, though he already knew the answer. Dak's scales rippled in what might have been amusement. "Then we will do what must be done. Your military forces are primitive compared to ours. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your sensors cannot detect our stealth technology. And your emotional attachments to your animals, your families, your homes, these will paralyze you when hard choices must be made." The alien commander leaned closer to the screen. "You have 12 Earth hours to submit to Rakari authority. After that, we will begin cleansing your major population centers. Perhaps the survivors will be more receptive to our guidance." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in heavy silence. Jinwu felt Atlas press closer against his leg, and he absently scratched behind the dog's ears. The simple gesture, one he performed thousands of times before, helped him focus his thoughts. "Sir," Lieutenant Park's voice was quiet. "What are your orders?" Jinwu turned to face his staff. "Send word to all commands. Full defensive positions. Evacuate civilians from major cities where possible." He paused, looking down at Atlas, who met his gaze with intelligent brown eyes. "And contact all military working dog units, civilian canine organizations, and animal training facilities. I want them all on high alert." "The animal units, sir?" someone asked from the back of the room. "Yes." Jinwu allowed himself a small smile. "High Commander Dak thinks our connection to animals is a weakness. I have a feeling he's about to learn just how wrong he is. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of activity. As the sun set over Seoul, Jinwoo watched more Rakuri ships enter the atmosphere. Atlas had not left his side, and the commander noticed something odd about his dog's behavior. Every few minutes, Atlas would tilt his head, ears twitching, as if hearing something beyond human perception. "Sir," Lieutenant Park called out, "we're getting reports from multiple bases. All military working dogs are displaying unusual behavior patterns. They seem to be reacting to something we can't detect." Jinwoo looked down at Atlas, who was now staring intently at a seemingly empty corner of the command center. The commander felt a spark of hope for the first time since the aliens had arrived. "Lieutenant, get me everything we have on Rakuri communication systems, and find me our top veterinary specialists and animal behaviorists. I think our friends just showed us their first weakness." The 12-hour deadline was about to expire, but Jinwoo no longer felt the same dread he had earlier. The Rakuri had made a crucial mistake. They had dismissed humanity's greatest gift, the ability to form genuine bonds with other species. They saw only weakness where there was strength, only primitive attachment where there was true partnership. As if reading his thoughts, Atlas stood and barked once, sharp and alert. Moments later, the sensors detected new Rakuri ships entering the atmosphere. The war was about to begin, but Earth wasn't as defenseless as the aliens believed. Humanity would fight back, and they wouldn't fight alone. Their loyal companions, the ones the Rakuri had mocked as lesser beings, would stand with them. And that would make all the difference. Commander Lee Jinwoo stood motionless in the dimly lit command center, his eyes fixed on the massive holographic display that dominated the room. The first alien ships had appeared just beyond Mars 48 hours ago. Now they hung in Earth's atmosphere like dark storm clouds, their metallic surfaces reflecting the morning sun. Atlas, his faithful German shepherd, pressed against his leg. The dog's presence was comforting, even as the weight of command pressed down on Jinwoo's shoulders. Around him, dozens of military personnel worked at their stations, their voices hushed and tense. "Sir, the Rakuri flagship is requesting another communication channel," Lieutenant Park reported from her station. Her fingers moved swiftly across the holographic keyboard. Jinwoo straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The main display shifted, and the alien face of High Commander Dak filled the screen. The Rakuri's gray-scaled skin and 4 glowing eyes had become a familiar sight over the past 2 days, though not a welcome one. Commander Lee, Dak's translator, processed his clicks and whistles into smooth English. "Have your leaders reached a decision? They're still discussing your proposal." Jinwoo kept his voice steady, professional. Atlas growled softly beside him, and he placed a calming hand on the dog's head. Dak's upper eyes narrowed. "Ah, yes. Your pet. How fitting that you keep one of your primitive companions even in your military command center." The alien's mouthparts twisted in what Jinwoo had learned to recognize as a gesture of disgust. "This only confirms our assessment of your species." "Atlas is a trained military working dog," Jinwoo replied. "He has saved human lives and—" Yes, Dak interrupted. "You attribute intelligence and emotion to these creatures. You waste resources feeding and caring for them. You even give them names and treat them as equals." The alien commander made a clicking sound that the translator rendered as laughter. "Do you know what we found most amusing in our study of Earth? Your entertainment media about loyal animals. Dogs solving mysteries. Cats outsmarting humans. Dolphins rescuing swimmers." Jinwoo felt his jaw tighten but maintained his diplomatic composure. "Our relationship with Earth's animals is part of our cultural heritage." "It is a weakness," Dak declared. "A species that relies on emotional bonds with lesser beings cannot be trusted with advanced technology or membership in the galactic community. This is why you must submit to Rakuri guidance. We will help your species evolve beyond these primitive attachments." The command center had fallen silent. Jinmu could feel all eyes on him as he faced down the alien commander. Atlas remained alert at his side, ears forward, watching the screen intently. "And if we refuse this guidance?" Jinmu asked, though he already knew the answer. Dak's scales rippled in what might have been amusement. "Then we will do what must be done. Your military forces are primitive compared to ours. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your sensors cannot detect our stealth technology. And your emotional attachments to your animals, your families, your homes, these will paralyze you when hard choices must be made." The alien commander leaned closer to the screen. "You have 12 Earth hours to submit to Rakari authority. After that, we will begin cleansing your major population centers. Perhaps the survivors will be more receptive to our guidance." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in heavy silence. Jinmu felt Atlas press closer against his leg, and he absently scratched behind the dog's ears. The simple gesture, one he performed thousands of times before, helped him focus his thoughts. "Sir," Lieutenant Park's voice was quiet. "What are your orders?" Jinmu turned to face his staff. "Send word to all commands. Full defensive positions. Evacuate civilians from major cities where possible." He paused, looking down at Atlas, who met his gaze with intelligent brown eyes. "And contact all military working dog units, civilian canine organizations, and animal training facilities. I want them all on high alert." "The animal units, sir?" someone asked from the back of the room. "Yes." Jinmu allowed himself a small smile. "High Commander Dak thinks our connection to animals is a weakness. I have a feeling he's about to learn just how wrong he is." The next 12 hours passed in a blur of activity. As the sun set over Seoul, Jinmu watched more Rakari ships enter the atmosphere. Atlas had not left his side, and the commander noticed something odd about his dog's behavior. Every few minutes, Atlas would tilt his head, ears twitching, as if hearing something beyond human perception. "Sir," Lieutenant Park called out, "we're getting reports from multiple bases. All military working dogs are displaying unusual behavior patterns. They seem to be reacting to something we can't detect." Jinmu looked down at Atlas, who was now staring intently at a seemingly empty corner of the command center. The commander felt a spark of hope for the first time since the aliens had arrived. "Lieutenant, get me everything we have on Rakari communication systems, and find me our top veterinary specialists and animal behaviorists. I think our friends just showed us their first weakness." The 12-hour deadline was about to expire, but Jinmu no longer felt the same dread he had earlier. The Rakari had made a crucial mistake. They had dismissed humanity's greatest gift, the ability to form genuine bonds with other species. They saw only weakness where there was strength, only primitive attachment where there was true partnership. As if reading his thoughts, Atlas stood and barked once, sharp and alert. Moments later, the sensors detected new Rakari ships entering the atmosphere. The war was about to begin, but Earth wasn't as defenseless as the aliens believed. Humanity would fight back, and they wouldn't fight alone. Their loyal companions, the ones the Rakari had mocked as lesser beings, would stand with them. And that would make all the difference. The morning sky over Seoul erupted in chaos as the first Rakari ships began their assault. Captain Kim Hae-Nul gripped her fighter's controls, leading her squadron through the maze of skyscrapers as alien energy weapons lit up the dawn. The military dogs in the K-9 unit building below barked in perfect unison as her jets screamed overhead. "Target locked," her weapons officer called out. Firing. Multiple missiles streaked toward the nearest Rakari vessel, only to dissipate harmlessly against its shields. The alien ship didn't even slow down. "All units, pull back and regroup," Hae-Nul ordered, banking her fighter away from another energy blast. The shot missed her but carved through an empty office building instead. As glass and steel rained down on the streets below, she couldn't help but notice the strange behavior of the military working dogs being evacuated from the K-9 facility. The dogs weren't running from the destruction. Instead, they were all facing the same direction, heads tilted at identical angles. Moments later, 3 more Rakari ships appeared from exactly where the dogs had been looking. "This is the 3rd time," she muttered to herself. Her squadron regrouped behind the cover of Seoul's tallest buildings. "Base Command, are you seeing this pattern with the K9 units?" "Affirmative, Captain." The response crackled through her helmet. Similar reports coming in from all sectors. "The dogs seem to be detecting the ships before our instruments can." Hanul had to pull her fighter into a steep climb as another energy blast tore through the air where she'd been. Through her cockpit, she watched helplessly as the Rakari ships methodically destroyed Seoul's defenses. Conventional weapons were useless against their shields, and their stealth technology made it impossible to track their movements effectively. After 18 hours of continuous combat, with her fighter running on emergency fuel reserves, Haenul received the order to return to base. The first day of the invasion had been devastating. The Rakari's technological superiority was overwhelming, but that strange behavior from the military dogs kept nagging at her thoughts. Later that night, in her apartment on the outskirts of the city, Haenul sat in darkness watching Seoul burn. Her cat, Miso, had been acting strange ever since she got home. Instead of hiding from the sounds of battle, the orange tabby sat alertly on her windowsill, staring intently at seemingly empty points in the air. "What do you see, Miso?" Haenul whispered, reaching out to stroke the cat's fur. Miso's tail twitched, eyes fixed on a spot about 50 meters above the street. Haenul made a note of the location in her tactical pad, something she'd started doing after noticing the pattern with the military dogs. 3 hours later, her tactical pad chimed with an alert. A Rakari stealth unit had materialized exactly where Miso had been staring, attempting to infiltrate a nearby military installation. The base's defenses only detected the aliens after they had already breached the perimeter. Hanul sat up straighter, her military training kicking in. She began documenting Miso's behavior more systematically. The cat would focus on a spot for exactly 8 minutes before shifting its gaze to another location. Without fail, Rakari units would appear in those exact positions roughly 3 hours later. She grabbed her secure communicator and contacted Base Command. "This is Captain Kim. I need to speak with Commander Lee immediately. I think I found something important about the Rakari stealth technology." While waiting for a response, Haenul watched as Miso suddenly arched his back, fur standing on end. The cat's eyes were fixed on the apartment building across the street. Haenul quickly noted the location and time. "Captain Kim." Commander Lee's voice came through her communicator. "Report." "Sir, we've been approaching this all wrong," she said, keeping her voice low as she watched Miso track something she couldn't see. The Rakari's technology, their stealth systems, their ship movements, they're operating on frequencies or wavelengths that our instruments can't detect, but our animals can. There was a pause before Lee responded. "Like your squadron's observation of the military dogs." "Yes, sir. And I've been tracking my cat's behavior since I got home. He can see their stealth units before they materialize. Every single time, without fail. 3 hours advance warning of their positions." Another explosion lit up the night sky, but Haenul barely noticed it. She was focused on Miso, who had moved to a different window, and was staring intently at a new location. "Send me your data, Captain," Commander Lee ordered, "and keep tracking these patterns. This might be the break we've been looking for." Hanul continued her observations through the night. As dawn approached, she had documented 12 separate instances where Rakari units appeared exactly where Miso had focused his attention. The cat hadn't made a single mistake. "They thought our connection to animals was a weakness," Haenul said softly, scratching under Miso's chin as the cat finally settled down to rest. "But what if it's actually our greatest advantage? They never considered that Earth's animals might be able to detect what their technology tries to hide." As if in response, air raid sirens began wailing across the city again. Haenul checked her tactical pad one last time, marking Miso's latest points of interest, then grabbed her flight gear. She had a briefing to attend, and this time, she had real intelligence to share. The Rakari might have superior technology, but they had overlooked something crucial. On Earth, humans didn't fight alone. They had allies the aliens had dismissed as simple beasts, and that mistake was about to cost them dearly. Hamnul paused at her door, looking back at Miso, who had resumed his vigilant watch by the window. "Keep an eye on them, partner," she said. "We're going to show these aliens exactly what Earth's lesser beings can do." The fluorescent lights flickered in the underground military laboratory as Dr. Park Sunmei stared at her data screens. Her small office was cluttered with animal behavior charts, brain scan readouts, and cups of cold coffee. On her desk, a parakeet named Blue hopped around its cage, chirping at regular intervals. The bird's behavior had changed dramatically since the Rakari invasion began. Blue would fly in precise patterns, avoiding invisible obstacles that shouldn't exist. At first, Sunmai thought the stress of the war was affecting her pets, but then she noticed all the laboratory animals displaying similar behaviors. She ran her hands through her messy hair, studying the latest readings. "There has to be a connection," she muttered, marking another timestamp when Blue avoided an apparently empty space. The parakeet chirped happily, landing on a perch and tilting its head at the air. A knock at her door made her jump. Major Kang Do-hyun stood in the doorway, his uniform pristine despite the chaos above ground. "Dr. Park, Command said you've been sending urgent messages about the animals." Sunmei straightened up, suddenly aware of how disheveled she must look. "Major Kang, yes, please come in. You need to see this." She gestured to her screens while Blue performed another perfect avoidance maneuver in its cage. "What exactly am I looking at?" Do-hyun asked, studying the data with a scientist's careful eye. "Pattern recognition," Sunmai explained, pulling up more charts. "Every animal in our facility has been behaving differently since the Rakari arrived. At first we thought it was stress, but look at this." She played a video of laboratory mice running their usual maze. Instead of following their trained path, they all simultaneously changed direction at specific points. "Interesting," Do-hyun said, "but how is this relevant to our defense efforts?" Sunmei pulled up another screen, this one showing overlap data from military sensors and animal behavior patterns. "Because of this, every time our animals react, there's a micro-fluctuation in the quantum field readings. It's so small our instruments barely detect it, but the animals respond every time." Blue chirped again, and both scientists watched as the bird navigated an invisible obstacle course through its cage. "The Rakari use quantum technology for their shields, their stealth systems, their communications," Sunmei continued, "and our animals can detect it naturally." Do-hyun's professional skepticism began to fade as he watched Blue's precise movements. "How is this possible?" "Evolution," Sunmai replied, warming to her subject. "Birds navigate using Earth's magnetic field. Dogs can hear frequencies we can't. Cats can see in near darkness. Animals develop these abilities over millions of years. The Rakari's quantum technology operates on similar principles. They just engineered artificially what Earth's creatures developed naturally." She pulled up more data, showing brain scans of various animals. "Look here. When the Rakari ships engage their stealth fields, they create quantum disturbances that match the exact frequencies our animals can naturally detect. Dogs hear their communications. Cats see their stealth fields. Birds can sense their shield geometries." The Major leaned closer to the screens, his scientific curiosity fully engaged. "This is why the military working dogs have been acting strange during battles. They're not just reacting to the noise, they're hearing the Rakari's secure communications." "Exactly," Sunmai exclaimed. She reached for another data pad but knocked over a coffee cup instead. Do-hyun caught it before it could spill on her equipment. "Sorry. I've been up for 3 days studying this. But don't you see? The Rakari thought our connection to animals was primitive, but they've actually given us the perfect detection system. She pulled up footage from security cameras showing cats in various military bases, all staring at empty spaces where Rakari stealth units later appeared. They can't hide from Earth's animals, all their advanced technology, and they never considered that nature had already solved the quantum detection problem. Do-hyun watched as Blue performed another perfect flight pattern. Can you prove this works consistently? Sun-le smiled for the first time in days. Follow me. She led him to the facility's larger testing area. Inside, dozens of birds flew freely in a massive aviary. As they watched, the birds formed complex three-dimensional patterns in the air. I mapped their flight paths, Sun-mai explained, projecting a holographic overlay. They're flying around something we can't see. I believe they're detecting the quantum shield geometries the Rakari use. If we can understand these patterns, we could map their shield configurations. Do-hyun finished, his eyes widening with realization. We could find weak points, develop countermeasures. Sun-le nodded enthusiastically. And that's just the beginning. Each species seems to detect different aspects of their technology. If we can coordinate this natural intelligence network, we might have a chance, Do-hyun said softly. He turned to face her, his expression serious. Dr. Park, I need you to prepare a full briefing for command. Every detail, every observation, every potential application. Already done, she replied, holding up a datapad. I've been trying to get someone to listen for days. I just needed someone who could understand both the science and the military implications. Do-hyun took the pad, already reading through her findings. The Rakari dismissed our animals as simple beasts, he said. They never considered that evolution might have created better detection systems than their quantum technology. Sun-mai watched as Blue landed on her shoulder, chirping softly. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most elegant, she said. Nature had billions of years to solve these problems. The Rakari just didn't realize they were reinventing abilities our animals already had. Get some rest, Doctor, Do-hyun said, heading for the door. Tomorrow, we're going to show the aliens exactly what Earth's primitive creatures can do. As he left, Sun-mi turned back to her screens, watching the complex dance of birds mapping invisible alien shields. The Rakari's greatest weakness might just be their arrogance in dismissing Earth's animals as beneath their notice. She smiled as Blue performed another perfect detection pattern. Good boy, she whispered. Let's show them what Earth's animals can really do. Colonel Choi Ta-won walked through the transformed military training facility on the outskirts of Busan. What had once been a standard K-9 training center now hummed with activity as handlers worked with animals of all kinds. The facility's underground levels, originally designed for basic obedience training, had been converted into specialized detection areas. Status report. He called out to Captain Song Min-ho, who was working with a Belgian Malinois named Rex in one of the training zones. Sir, Min-ho straightened up, while Rex remained focused on a seemingly empty corner. Rex has achieved a 98% accuracy rate in detecting Rakari quantum signatures. He can now differentiate between their communication frequencies and shield harmonics. Ta-won watched as Rex suddenly turned his head, tracking something invisible across the room. Moments later, their sensors picked up a faint quantum disturbance, moving along the exact path the dog had followed. Remarkable, Ta-won said, making notes on his tablet. And the other units. Min-ho led him through the facility's different training areas. In one section, domestic cats were being trained to alert to stealth unit signatures. The cats showed an uncanny ability to track cloaked movements, their eyes following hidden patterns that human technology struggled to detect. The cats have been particularly effective, Min-ho explained, as they watched an orange tabby perfectly trace the path of a quantum signature. They don't need any special training to see the stealth fields. We just had to teach them how to alert their handlers. They moved to the aquatics division, where live feeds showed dolphins working with naval units along the coast. The marine mammals had proven exceptionally good at detecting underwater Rakari installations, using their natural echolocation abilities to map quantum shield configurations. The dolphins found 3 hidden Rakari bases yesterday, Minho reported. The aliens never considered that Earth's oceans would have their own detection systems. Taiwan nodded, remembering how the Rakari had mocked humanity's connection to animals. Now that same connection was becoming their greatest vulnerability. His tablet chimed with an incoming message. Similar training programs were showing success across the globe. They're really something, aren't they? A voice called out. Dr. Park Sunmai approached them, carrying new data readings. The animals are exceeding all our expectations. It's as if they've been waiting millions of years to show us what they can do. Dr. Park, Taiwan greeted her. How are the new training protocols working? Better than we hoped, she replied, showing him the latest results. We've discovered that different dog breeds have different quantum detection specialties. German Shepherds excel at tracking communication frequencies, while bloodhounds can follow quantum particle trails for hours. Even hamsters are proving useful. They can detect microscopic fluctuations in shield harmonics. A series of sharp barks drew their attention. In a nearby training area, a team of border collies was working in formation, herding invisible quantum signatures into detection zones. Their handlers followed with sensor equipment, mapping the aliens' technology through the dog's natural abilities. Seoul Command sent new orders, Taiwan said, pulling up the message on his tablet. They want us to deploy the first combined animal-human units within 48 hours. The Rakari are planning something big, and we need to be ready. The units are ready, sir, Minho assured him. We've been running combat simulations all week. The animals have learned to work seamlessly with their handlers, and our success rates against simulated Rakari technology are approaching 100%. They watched as a demonstration team ran through their paces. A handler and her German Shepherd moved in perfect coordination, the dog detecting quantum signatures while a handler marked them for tactical teams. Nearby, cats perched on high points, their alert postures warning of incoming stealth units. It's beautiful, isn't it? Dr. Park said softly. The perfect partnership between human technology and natural ability. The Rakari thought they were so advanced, but they never understood that Earth's evolution had already solved the problems they faced. Taiwan checked his tablet again as more reports came in from around the world. In the Americas, eagles were being trained to detect high-altitude shield configurations. Australian facilities were working with kangaroos, whose natural sensitivity to electromagnetic fields made them excellent quantum detector. Even pigeons in European cities were being utilized for their ability to map quantum disturbances in urban environments. Prepare the units for deployment, he ordered. I want our best teams ready to move by dawn. As Minho hurried off to relay the orders, Taiwan turned to Dr. Park. Will they be ready in time? She smiled, watching as Rex successfully completed another detection run. The animals have always been ready, Colonel. They've been trying to show us these abilities since the Rakari arrived. We just needed to learn how to listen. In the training area, handlers and their animal partners continued their preparations. Dogs practiced detecting quantum signatures while cats tracked stealth units. Above them, birds flew in patterns that mapped shield configurations, while in the oceans beyond, dolphins scanned for hidden bases. The Rakari had come to Earth believing their technology made them invincible. They had laughed at humanity's connection to animals, seeing it as a sign of weakness. But as Taiwan watched the combined teams working together, he knew the aliens were about to learn a harsh lesson. Earth's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its weapons. It was the bond between humans and the creatures they shared their world with. A partnership millions of years in the making, now turned into humanity's most effective defense against alien invasion. Send word to all units, he commanded. Operation Noah's response begins at dawn. The name seemed fitting. Once again, Earth's animals would help save humanity, just as they had throughout history. Lieutenant Song Mirei crouched behind a rock formation in the mountains south of Seoul, her hand resting on Shadow's back. The German Shepherd remained perfectly still, his ears forward and alert. Around them, the rest of her K9 unit waited in similar positions, each handler trusting their dog's senses over their advanced equipment. Shadow's ears twitched, and Mayray felt his muscles tense. She keyed her comm unit, keeping her voice barely above a whisper. All units hold. Shadow's got something. The dog's head turned slowly, tracking something the humans couldn't detect. Mayray had learned to trust these signals over the past weeks. The Rakari might be able to hide their bases from human technology, but they couldn't hide from Earth's natural detection systems. Base, this is Mountain Team, she whispered into her comm. Shadows indicating strong quantum signatures. Coordinates uploading now. The response came back immediately. Confirmed, Lieutenant. Marine Team reports their dolphins are detecting similar signatures underwater, approximately 2 kilometers from your position. Mayray smiled grimly. The Rakari had built their base into the mountain, with underwater access through a network of caves. They thought their quantum shields made them invisible. They were wrong. Captain Lee Junho, are your teams in position? She asked, watching as Shadow continued his silent tracking. Affirmative. Junho's voice crackled through the comm. The dolphins have mapped the entire underwater section. They can't hide anything from Echo and her pod. Mayray checked her tactical display. Green dots showed her K9 teams spread across the mountainside, while blue markers indicated Junho's marine units in the water below. The dogs and dolphins had discovered more than just the base. They had revealed the Rakari's entire defensive network. Shadow, mark, she commanded softly. The German Shepherd moved forward carefully, following the quantum trail only he could detect. The other dogs in the unit did the same, each one tracking different aspects of the alien technology. Through her tactical goggles, Mayray watched as the dog's movements slowly revealed the outline of the hidden base. Where human sensors showed only empty mountain, the dogs traced paths around invisible shield barriers and security systems. Junho, what's Echo showing you? She asked, marking another point where Shadow indicated a strong signal. The dolphins say they found the main power conduits, Junho replied. The Rakari are drawing energy from underwater thermal vents. Echo's echolocation is mapping it all. These aliens might understand quantum physics, but they don't know the first thing about hiding from marine mammals. Mayray's tactical display updated with the dolphins' findings. Combined with the dogs' detection patterns, a complete picture of the Rakari base emerged. Their perfect hiding place wasn't so perfect anymore. All units, prepare for breach, she ordered. Remember your training. Trust your animals. They can see what we can't. Shadow suddenly stiffened, a low growl rumbling in his throat. Mayray didn't need the warning that came through her comm. Stealth units deploying. But the Rakari's stealth technology was useless now. The dogs tracked their movement perfectly, allowing the human soldiers to target what their eyes couldn't see. Quantum shielded or not, the alien soldiers couldn't hide from Earth's natural detection systems. Junho status. Mayray called as her teams engaged the visible enemy forces. Echo just found their shield generator, he reported, excitement clear in his voice. The dolphins can disrupt their power system by manipulating the underwater currents. These aliens never considered that Earth's oceans would have their own defense network. Mayray watched as Shadow led her team through the Rakari's security grid. Every invisible barrier, every hidden trap, every concealed defense. The dogs found them all. What had seemed like an impenetrable fortress was being systematically exposed. Breach teams, move in, she ordered as the dolphins disabled the base's power systems. Follow your dogs. They know the safe paths. The battle that followed was unlike anything in Earth's military history. Human soldiers moved in perfect coordination with their animal partners, striking at an enemy that thought themselves invisible. The Rakari's advanced technology proved useless against the natural abilities they had dismissed as primitive. Shadow led Mayray's team to the base's command center, detecting quantum signatures that revealed hidden doors and security systems. When they finally breached the central chamber, the alien commanders couldn't hide their shock at seeing their perfect defenses defeated by what they had called lesser beings. How? One of the captured Rakari commanders demanded. Our shields are perfect. Our stealth technology is flawless. Myre looked down at Shadow, who sat alertly by her side. You made a mistake thinking technology was the only answer. Earth's animals evolved these detection abilities over millions of years. You can't hide from natural instincts you don't understand. As her team secured the base, reports came in from around the world. Other animal units were finding similar success. Cats were exposing stealth operations in cities. Birds were mapping shield configurations in the air. Dolphins were discovering underwater bases all along Earth's coasts. Mountain base secure, Myre reported to command. Shadow's team is detecting more quantum signatures deeper in the complex. Permission to continue sweep. Granted, Lieutenant, came the response. And well done. This is the breakthrough we've been waiting for. Myre patched in her comm to Junho's frequency. Captain, have Echo and her pod do another sweep of the underwater access. We don't want any surprises while we clear the rest of this place. Already on it, Junho replied. Echo says there's nothing down here that dolphins can't find. These aliens never had a chance once we figured out how to work with our natural allies. As Shadow led them deeper into the alien complex, Myre felt a surge of pride. The Rakari had come to Earth believing their technology made them invincible. They had laughed at humanity's connection to animals. Now that same connection was becoming their downfall. The turning point of the war had arrived, and it came not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the partnership between humans and the creatures they shared their world with. The Rakari were about to learn that Earth's greatest strength was the very thing they had dismissed as its greatest weakness. High Commander Dak paced in his command chamber aboard the Rakari flagship, his scales rippling with barely contained rage. 3 more stealth units had been ambushed in the last hour alone. On the holographic displays surrounding him, red markers showed the steady loss of their hidden bases across Earth's surface. Explain this, he demanded, turning to his chief science officer. How are these primitives detecting our quantum shields? Our stealth systems are perfect. The science officer, Ren, studied the latest battle reports with growing concern. Sir, they aren't using technology to find us. They're using their animals. Dak's upper eyes narrowed while his lower ones focused on the data streams. That's impossible. These are simple beasts. We studied them thoroughly before the invasion. Apparently not thoroughly enough, Rent replied, bringing up footage from their latest defeats. Watch this. The display showed a Rakari stealth team moving through a human city. Their quantum shields should have made them completely invisible. Yet somehow, ordinary house cats tracked their movement perfectly, allowing human defenders to target them with devastating accuracy. And here, Ren continued, showing another recording. Our secure quantum communications being intercepted. Not by technology, but by dogs. They can hear the frequencies we thought were undetectable. Dak slammed his hand against the console. We are the supreme technological power in this sector. We cannot be defeated by common pets. Another alert flashed across the screens. 3 more underwater bases had been discovered by human forces. The report noted that dolphins had led them straight to the quantum-shielded facilities. Sir, one of his commanders called out, we're detecting unusual movement patterns in the humans' bird population. They appear to be mapping our shield geometries. Dak watched in disbelief as flocks of birds flew in perfect formations around his ship's shield boundaries. Their natural ability to sense electromagnetic fields had somehow adapted to detect quantum disturbances. Recall all stealth units, he ordered. Reconfigure our quantum shields. Change all communication frequencies. It won't help, sir, Ren said quietly. The animals, they're detecting something more fundamental than specific frequencies. They're sensing the quantum effects themselves, effects we never considered visible to organic life. Another alert. This time, A major supply base in what the humans called the Rocky Mountains had been found. Dogs had led Earth's forces straight through their security grid, as if the quantum shields didn't exist. How? Dak demanded. How did we miss this? We spent years studying this planet. We studied their technology, Ren explained. We analyzed their weapons, their defenses, their communication systems. But we dismissed their animals as irrelevant. We never considered that evolution might have already solved the quantum detection problem we spent centuries developing artificially. Dak watched as more red markers appeared on his tactical display. Earth's forces were now moving with devastating efficiency, their animal companions guiding them straight through Rakari defenses that should have been impenetrable. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving reports from all commands. The humans have deployed specialized animal units worldwide. Dogs are tracking our ground forces. Cats are exposing our stealth operations. Marine mammals are finding every underwater installation. Even their birds are providing real-time shield analysis." A massive explosion rocked the flagship. On the displays, Dak watched in horror as one of his primary command bases was breached. Security footage showed human soldiers following their dogs straight through quantum-shielded corridors, hitting critical systems with precise strikes. "Impossible," he whispered, his proud scales now dulled with stress. "All our technology, all our advancement, being defeated by primitive beasts." "Not primitive," Ren corrected. "Highly evolved. These creatures developed their abilities naturally over millions of years. Our artificial quantum systems are crude imitations of what their biology does instinctively." Another alert, this time showing dolphins coordinating with human naval forces, their natural sonar cutting through quantum distortions to expose hidden fleet positions. "We mocked them," Dak said, finally understanding. "We saw their connection to animals as weakness, as proof of their primitive nature. And they turned that perceived weakness into their greatest strength," Ren finished. "While we were perfecting our technology, evolution was solving the same problems through natural selection. These animals don't need complex quantum sensors. They are quantum sensors." Dak watched as more of his forces fell to the combined human-animal teams. Every stealth unit exposed, every hidden base found, every secure communication intercepted. The invasion force that had seemed invincible was being systematically dismantled by the very creatures they had dismissed as simple beasts. "Send the evacuation order," he finally commanded, his voice heavy with defeat. "We cannot win against an enemy we cannot hide from, and we cannot hide from these creatures that see through our every deception." As the order went out, Dak stared at the images of Earth's animals, dogs, cats, dolphins, birds, all working seamlessly with their human partners. The great Rakari Empire, with all its technological supremacy, had been humbled not by superior weapons or advanced science, but by the natural abilities they had been too proud to understand. "Perhaps," Ren suggested quietly, "we should have spent less time perfecting our technology, and more time understanding why these humans valued their animal companions so highly." Dak could only watch as his invasion force began its retreat, driven back not by the primitive species they had come to conquer, but by the remarkable partnership between humans and the creatures they called friends. It was a lesson in humility that the Rakari Empire would not soon forget. Commander Li Jinwu adjusted his dress uniform as he waited outside the United Nations General Assembly Hall. Atlas, his German shepherd, sat calmly beside him, occasionally glancing up with those intelligent brown eyes that had helped save humanity. The halls buzzed with activity as delegates from over 100 alien worlds gathered for this historic moment. "Ready for one more mission, old friend?" Jinwu asked softly, scratching behind Atlas's ears. The dog's tail wagged gently against the polished floor. Around them, other military handlers and their animal partners waited, a testament to the unique partnership that had turned the tide of war. Dr. Park sunned my approach, her lab coat exchanged for formal diplomatic attire. "Commander, the Galactic Council is ready. They're particularly interested in meeting our animal defenders." Inside the assembly hall, representatives from across the galaxy filled the tiered seats. Many of them had come to witness firsthand the species that had humbled the mighty Rakari Empire. Their varied forms and colors created a stunning display of galactic diversity. Jin Wu stepped up to the podium, Atlas taking his place beside him. The dog's presence drew curious murmurs from the alien delegates. Some leaned forward, studying the seemingly simple Earth creature that had helped defeat quantum technology. Honored representatives, Jin Wu began, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. 3 months ago, the Rakari Empire came to Earth believing their technology made them invincible. They saw our connection to animals as primitive, as a weakness to be eliminated. He paused, letting his gaze sweep across the assembly. They were wrong. What they dismissed as simple beasts were Earth's first and most natural defense network. While they spent centuries developing quantum detection systems, evolution had already solved that problem through natural selection. From their seats, Captain Kim Hae-Newell and her cat Miso watched alongside Lieutenant Song Mei-Ray and Shadow. Marine Captain Lee Jun-ho represented the dolphin teams that had protected Earth's oceans. Each success story had contributed to this moment. Our dogs didn't need complex sensors to detect Rakari communications. Their ears had evolved to hear frequencies we never imagined possible. Our cats didn't require stealth detection technology. Their eyes had developed the ability to see quantum disturbances naturally. Our dolphins didn't need sophisticated sonar. They already had better systems than anything we could build. The alien delegates murmured among themselves as Jin Wu continued. But more important than these natural abilities was something the Rakari never understood: the bond between humans and animals, a partnership built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. Atlas chose that moment to look up at Jin Wu, and the commander rested his hand on the dog's head. The simple gesture spoke volumes to the watching delegates. Earth is not just humanity's home, Jin Wu declared. It belongs to all the creatures who share it with us. When the Rakari threatened our world, they didn't face only human defenders. They faced the combined will of Earth's species, working together as they have for millions of years. Dr. Park stepped forward, presenting the scientific data that had helped turn the tide. Our research shows that Earth's animals possess natural quantum sensing abilities that far exceed our artificial technology. Their evolution-solved problems we're only beginning to understand. As if to demonstrate, Atlas suddenly turned his head toward a specific point in the chamber. Moments later, the assembly's sensors detected a quantum fluctuation exactly where the dog was looking. The alien delegates shifted in their seats, finally understanding. We don't come before you today seeking recognition for our technology or our military strength, Jin Wu continued. We come to share a lesson the Rakari learned at great cost, that true advancement comes not from dismissing other forms of life, but from understanding and working with them. The Galactic Council's chief representative rose, their multifaceted eyes gleaming. Commander Lee, your world has shown us something remarkable, not just in defeating the Rakari, but in demonstrating a form of cooperation we had not thought possible. They gestured to the assembled delegates. Earth is hereby declared a protected world, not only for its human inhabitants, but for all its remarkable species. Your planet's unique evolution and the partnership between its creatures shall be preserved. Jin Wu nodded in acknowledgement as Atlas pressed against his leg. Around the chamber, other Earth animals demonstrated their unique abilities. Cats tracking quantum movements, birds mapping shield geometries, dolphins communicating through underwater sensors. We didn't just win a war, Jin Wu concluded. We showed the galaxy a different way forward. One where technology and nature work together, where strength comes not from domination, but from cooperation. As the assembly erupted in approval, Atlas looked up at his human partner with those wise, understanding eyes. In that moment, every delegate in the chamber understood what the Rakari had failed to grasp, that the simplest gesture of trust between species contained more wisdom than all their advanced technology. The galaxy had changed. Earth's victory wasn't just about defending against invasion. It was about showing a better way, a path where different species could work together, each contributing their unique strengths to create something greater than the sum of its parts. And as Jinwoo left the podium with Atlas by his side, he knew that this was just the beginning. Earth's animals had not only helped save their world, they had opened humanity's eyes to possibilities they had never imagined. The future would be built not on technological supremacy, but on understanding, cooperation, and the bonds between all living things. That was a lesson worth more than all the quantum shields in the galaxy.